Rationally Skeptical, Parenting Through Nonbelief.
We're a married atheist couple raising two wonderful, strange children. We ask big questions, dissect weird parenting moments, and examine how society ignores or misrepresents families like ours. If you're any stripe of non-believer who's involved in raising children, welcome. You are our people.
Our kids have heard all our swears, but yours might not have, so be thoughtful if there are young people listening with you.
So it's like 6 weeks until the end of school.
Yeah.
Wild.
It went fast.
Yeah. Just think, it was this time last year when we got essentially that whole thing to move to where we live now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're heading up close to a year on the move, too.
Yeah.
And we have an interesting situation heading into the end of the school year.
Yeah.
So at Go's last school, there were definitely religious kids. I think we've mentioned that it's a pretty Catholic area.
And Muslim.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think he has talked about it more at his current school. So this situation started, and I don't even know if you were in on the first part of this discussion, but there is a girl in his class, and she talks about God a lot. And so he let me know that he felt uncomfortable because she would say things, and a lot of other kids would kind of chime in, and he didn't feel like he could chime in, and it was sort of a strange situation. So we talked about it a little bit. And my read is, which may have changed a little bit, but at the time, what I felt like is that this girl actually sounds kind of cool. So what was happening, like, she just sounds very dramatic and flamboyant. So I forget, this wasn't the language he was using, but what was happening is like her pen wouldn't work. And she'd be like, oh, not today, Satan. Like, it wasn't that, but like that was the vibe of it. And so I think a lot of kids were chiming in, not necessarily based on the religious content, but because she sounds pretty kind of outgoing and amusing and was making it into kind of a funny thing. So I mentioned that to Go. That did not make him feel better about anything. At the time, we talked about how, he could say something like, because he's into the Greek gods, right? So if it was something along those lines, like, not today, Zeus, not today, Hades, not today, Ares, whatever he wanted to do, if he wanted sort of a cheeky way to be a part of things. I also said he could talk to his teacher, and I said I could talk to his teacher. And at the time, he wanted to, I forget if he just wanted to let it go or said he would talk to his teacher if it got more uncomfortable, but that's kind of where we left it. But it's changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to talk about the new development?
Yeah. So now Go is talking about how occasionally at lunch, certain children will say something along the lines of, stand up if you love God, or stand up if you like God, or some sort of religious affirmation. And Go doesn't stand, and he feels really awkward about it. I don't think he's the only one. He said he wasn't the only one.
But it's like, at lunch, it's his whole grade, right?
Yeah.
Not just his class. So it's his whole grade.
It's his whole grade. It's a lot of kids. And also, we live in a very mixed community. So whose God loves what, how? I don't know. There's a lot of opportunity for there to be different versions of gods, even different versions of the same gods. floating around in kids' heads when they say, "Oh, I like that. I'm going to stand up in support of that." Or they're just doing it because they want to fit in, or they're doing it because it's ironic and they're just having a laugh. But Go is sincere. Go takes it seriously. I think if Go was religious, he'd be like all in and he'd be devoted.
Yeah, he's like me that way. So yeah, I think he said it's like a handful of kids who don't stand.
Yeah, and so I think that he assumes that all the kids who are standing are doing so because like they have this sincerely held belief, and he feels like he's been outgrouped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a horrible feeling to be ostracized like that. And it wasn't like the kids are intentionally ostracizing people. Maybe the kids who say stand up if you so-and-so don't mean ill by it. They just maybe because of the culture they are in, they assume that everybody does love God and in that way, platonically.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe it's something that somebody in their church does. And so they don't think anything of it. I don't know. I am not quick to ascribe a malicious intent on the part of the kid doing the thing, but it's an example of how education and empathy and in plurality is important. Because I don't know if we should hold the school to account for teaching that sort of thing, but it seems like an opportunity for the school to, I don't know, teach that sort of thing.
Yeah. So we did point out to Go that most likely all these kids are not standing with the concept of the same God or with a concept that aligns with anybody else's God. And he was like, oh, yeah, that's true. But this time he did say that he wanted us to do something. So I think we're going to do something and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know what, though.
Well, I know you said you were going to contact the principal, but his teacher is so lovely. I thought maybe we should start there.
Yeah, that definitely is a thing.
So, because I think she'll have a better sense of the best way to pursue it. Especially if it's this kid who I believe is in his class.
Yes.
Then it doesn't have to become like a whole school thing, potentially. I
don't want to make it like a big deal because I don't want Go to feel like he's this sort of like figurehead to be for some sort of like cultural revolution in his school. Like,
no,
I just want him to not feel outgrouped.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
And I think it's like if they handle it appropriately, like it's just a good larger lesson.
Yes. I think it is a wonderful opportunity for everybody involved to learn more about each other and about themselves.
I mean, like you wouldn't want a kid standing up and being like, hey, everybody with an Xbox stand up, right?
Sure.
Because then if your family's in like a different economic situation and you can't afford one, like that sucks.
Yeah.
I think it's just
how
like,
would that make you feel? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just like a general.
Like, what if the kid said, clap if you love Jesus?
Mm-hmm. There
are a lot of Jewish kids at that school.
Yeah.
What if they love Jesus?
Hang on, never know.
The cat is doing weird things with the lamp.
Oh, okay. Good.
All right. It's safe. He's disengaged.
So, but it's
it's a work in progress. We have just begun this journey, and we will keep you all updated on the comings and goings of Go and the stand he's going to take.
Yes. His religiously enthusiastic classmate.
Yeah.
Okay. This episode is going to be a 1 topic episode. And I
Yes.
actually feel like the reason fits in really well with the topic.
I agree.
Yeah, because we want to talk about how we're thinking about getting more involved in our community.
Yes.
Given
It's been a while since we moved here.
yes.
We're starting to feel a little bit more stable and root growy. I don't know if that's probably not an adjective, but I'm making it.
Speak for yourself. But yes.
So it is an adjective. It's an appropriate. Root growy is an adjective.
Yes, we're going to, sure.
Okay, great. So then we're collectively feeling root growy. And we wanted to talk about
I don't feel stable, but that's a whole other thing.
Outreach and action. And not just like anti-humanist actions, right? Double negative. Yeah, we're good. But just in general, figuring out what to focus on when we think about giving our time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if time was no object, I might consider getting more involved in the school board.
Yes.
Or God forbid, even local politics.
Yeah.
It is such a time commitment. And I already have a hard time juggling everything I need to do in order to both feel successful and actually be successful as a parent.
Yeah.
And so I know that if I were to start carving out extra time to do like a regular action that would take a lot of that time, I think that it might work in the short term, but I don't think it would work in the long term. And that's a sort of a long-term commitment. And once you get in, you can't get out. So I was wondering how I could best be judicious with my time, but also honor my desire to help the secular community, to help, give us a greater voice in our community in protecting the rights and freedoms of all citizens, but also looking at how we can bolster humanism in our community, be it how to help schools, resist ICE raids, or how to source books for a library if the books get pulled from shelves for such and such reason, like different ways to help keep our children at least at an academic and social level that they were at in November of last year. Mm-hmm. If not help to improve the situation despite all of the obstacles that we are facing. And I'm not going to name them because we all live them and we're tired of thinking about them.
I mean, so there are kind of multiple things happening, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
We knew when we moved here that we were very excited by the community and wanted to be more active in the community.
Yes.
So that is just kind of like a standing thing to think about.
Yes. And we have lots of opportunities.
Yes.
Unlike where we used to live last.
Yes.
It's the opposite. We have so many opportunities to get out there and help, and people who want help and are like gagging for it and are like, just sign up, pick a day, come, we'd love to have you sort of stuff.
And then there was the election.
Mm-hmm.
And I have felt like, given the fact that Christian nationalists are trying to take over the country amongst, a million other terrible things happening, I have felt the need to do something. So God, who recommended it? Oh, I think it was Joe Piazza. So Joe Piazza has a podcast, Under the Influence. She had kind of a political podcast going in the lead up to the election. And she had a guest on that recommended she said it's a podcast. I can't find the podcast, but I signed up for the Substack, which is called Chop Wood, Carry Water. And it's like 5 calls. If you know about the app 5 calls, it gives you 5 calls you can make. This woman just sort of posts what she thinks the biggest issues to call about each week are. For some reason, it works better for my brain than 5 calls. So,
Sure.
I've been trying to read that and do, call our representatives at least once a week on something, pick the issue that I care about the most. Right now we have 2 Republican senators. So I feel like
we have lots of opportunity to push back.
Yes, exactly. I will also say I knew nothing about our representative. If you live someplace where it's like a blue dot and you're feeling really depressed, check out your local representative. Because I was just making the call to support whatever she was doing as a Democrat. But in doing that, I started following her and she is really cool. Maybe she's just good at making it look good on social media, but it is exciting, even in all of this terriableness, to see people pushing for good progressive things. That has been a little bright spot. But, so I've been trying to do that. But even that, I feel the reason we're doing one topic is because I am deeply underwater and just reading another long email 3 times a week and trying to get those calls out. It's not, I think it's the bare minimum of what I should be doing, but it's also just one other thing on top
I love
of
that you're doing it. Yeah.
A very long list of things, but it makes it,
Yeah.
But again, that is the minimum commitment that one could possibly give.
But I also think that we need to look at the world we want to create. Because part of this is, yes, we give time and money in helping to push back against this toxic political movement. At the end, when it finally is ousted, what world we want to have. So it's we also, or I should say, I also want to look into us donating time at soup kitchens, or if there is something that we could do for the local foster community.
You did show me that there's now is it called a foster closet?
Yeah.
Where they can take donations for foster families to use. And
we have a lot of clothing that we need to get rid of. We were just looking at our coat closet, for instance.
Yeah.
They could use that.
Well, I don't know if they're looking for new things or used things, but we could also go and help sort and do that kind of stuff. So
yeah, for sure.
Depending.
Do you know what I just got?
What?
I got a message from Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
Long and short.
What does Pete say we should do?
So a couple paragraphs down, he says, but ideas alone aren't enough. We need to meet people where they are, break through in new ways, and show how we can all be freer, safer, and more prosperous. I once heard it said that hope is the consequence of action rather than its cause. In this troubled season of American life, I believe hope won't come from words alone, but from what we do next. I'll be doing my part. Now, this is a fundraising email. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
At the end, it says, text stop to quit. But it, somebody in Pete Buttigieg's staff heard us talking about this and was like, I feel you, fam. We all need to do our part. We need to reach out. We have a lot of things that we would like to do. There's also environmental cleanup, beautification, tree planting. It does, I don't want to be lured into the sort of the doom scrolling version of volunteerism, where we're going to be taking our volunteerism hours and energy and putting it towards fighting against this evil apparatus. It also has to be, we need to be not just fighting against, but fighting for. And I think that helping to do the other thing as well, uplifting and beautifying and enriching, so that way at the end of all this nonsense, we aren't just survivors. We actually have a better, freer, cleaner, happier, safer, more fruitful, artistic, expressive society around us.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel torn and I don't know where to put my energy.
Well, I
But
think I'm in a similar place because while I think like on the political side,
Mhm.
I would love to see like a truly progressive breakthrough. And I feel like, so
those
much of the,
Bernie AOC rallies are pretty cool. Did you see the one in Salt Lake City?
yeah,
Salt
yeah.
Lake City.
I mean, I don't know if we're going to get it, but like,
Hashtag Yeah.
as much as I feel
We're
like,
closer, oddly, we are closer now than we ever have been, I
yeah.
think.
So in some ways, I feel like that's the urgent push of the moment, but just like
Sure.
personally, I've felt like very drawn to like the most basic things. So
Hmm.
I don't know if it's quite the same level, but I'm really disturbed by the SAVE Act. The House passed that. Who knows if
Yeah.
the Senate will
Yeah.
have
Who is
by
it
the time,
saving? What is it saving? We don't know.
yeah, Republican hatred of women. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
that's
We
like
got
my
to
best
preserve
guess.
that. They're
Um,
just bitter. What was it? The 14th Amendment? They never got over that.
but if that passes, I'm like, maybe I just have to put all of my effort toward voter registration. Like it's
Yeah.
real basic, but it's
Or
real important.
maybe lobbying Congress to put their money where their mouth is and say, okay, we're going to provide all citizens with free passports. Like if you're saying you need to,
Yeah.
or like easy access to birth certificates, like something where it doesn't become a poll tax because they just basically made it a poll tax through
You know,
accessibility, if not through finances, if not both.
so like that's on my mind. My mom has great ideas about like voting and has always said that there should be a parade for first time voters. So I was like, we live in a really cool community. Should I try to get the high school to do like a first time voter parade?
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm an idiot. It's not the 14th Amendment. That was the other thing that they also are bitter about. No, it's the 19th Amendment.
yeah. So there's that.
We just
There
stopped
were,
making amendments. That
yeah.
sort of needs to come back, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I can think of a couple. And, there was like a super tragic shooting in our community.
Yeah.
And I have lost someone to suicide. So, like,
Yeah.
thoughtful gun control has been on my mind for a while.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I mean, it feels like there are all these new issues, and yet I feel like I'm being drawn to these like very basic,
Yeah.
been there forever topics.
Hmm.
I don't know.
I think this is like one of those, okay, we've broached the subject, we've put it out there in the universe. I can't wait to circle back to this in a couple weeks or whatever, when we have a better sense of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Or even we circle back and say, hey, we just did this thing. We went and we volunteered time at this such and such, the sort of post-mortem of the thing, because where we live now really needs it. Like it there's a lot of movement in the right direction in some ways,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of movement in the wrong direction in other ways. And that mixed bag not only makes our community interesting, but it also gives us a lot of opportunities to help push back against what we would consider to be ills, but also to find a lot of solidarity with people who are also humanistic. And because of the fact that we're in a very heavily Jewish community, there is that sort of religiously branded humanism as well
Mm-hmm.
that we can lean on. And I don't know if there are any humanistic Jewish organizations. Maybe we could get in touch with one and do something, and then tell Paul and
Yeah.
circle back and
I
talk to him a little bit about it.
I can't remember where the closest one is. There is a humanist society. Maybe that's like
Sort of a catch-all, like
the
all the
best
humanists. We
or
should
a
just go
good
talk to them first or something.
place to start to see if they're
I've
doing
been
anything.
doing a lot of yard work the last week. I kind of in the mood for like planting trees. That would be so cool. That would
Oh,
feel
yeah.
very proactive. Like literally getting your hands dirty in the name of progress. Or trash pickup, can always do that, you
Yeah.
know. It's not pretty, but it makes things pretty.
Yeah.
So much to do. We just got to figure it out. And also, we got to figure out what we can do specifically with the kids, because part of this is, parenting. We want to help demonstrate to the kids the value of volunteerism, because they've done a little bit of it. But
yeah, it is hard to volunteer with kids.
Yes.
I will say it is a challenge.
It does limit our options somewhat.
I understand why, because there are many hurdles that nonprofits have to, it's hard having kids, and particularly if you don't know if the parents are going to support them in the right way. And, you don't want kids around.
I think
that
if
are
we
can
can get, I'm thinking we should do the reference system. We get in with the kids to some venue. They're awesome. They're productive. They don't complain. We go to the next place, be like, hey, call these other people. Our kids were awesome. They'll tell you. And then we can get into the next place. Maybe we can just leapfrog.
I did some wild volunteering when I was in high school. So I volunteered.
Well, high school's different. You can
I know, but even so, I volunteered at a literacy center teaching adults to read. And I was the youngest volunteer.
That'd be so cool.
They'd ever had.
Go would love that.
Oh, yeah. That was so inspiring. The people coming in. It is not easy as an adult to admit that you need help and to go and tackle such a huge issue.
Oh, it makes me think of Jake and Nog in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Where he's his dad's all mad. He's like, why are you hanging out with that Ferengi kid? And Jake's after hours teaching Nog to read. Be still my heart. Yeah, stuff like that when they get older. But for right now, I think anything having to do with outdoorsy stuff where they stay active, I think should be an easy sell to have the kids come in and do that. Anything having to do with
well, they both do. But Reader loves feeling like he's being helpful.
Yes, he does.
Particularly when it's with you.
I don't know why it's just with me. It's just messed up.
Because he adores you.
It's not fair. Sure,
he adores you.
But he adores you too.
Well, in different ways.
Yeah.
Clearly.
He's just afraid of me. I intimidate him.
I don't think that's true at all. That's true at all.
I hope not. It's not my goal.
No, that is not the vibe I get. But yeah, I didn't know going into this, but I feel like maybe with different thoughts, but we're in a very similar place of uplifting action.
Yeah.
I am angry about things so much of the time. I don't know if that's where I want to put that energy.
Well, if that's part of my journey in stoicism has been realizing that I can say no. It's a big thing in stoicism, is protecting your time and not allowing harm. Obviously there's harm that you can't ignore, but I'm talking about the psychological side of things where sometimes, often, maybe, perhaps predominantly, the harm you perceive from another person's actions or words is something that you have, that you allow to happen. You can perceive something that you want to defeat or counter without that feeling of being harmed. And I think part of this is that, distancing ourselves from this massive tsunami of bullshit that threatens to derail our parenting, positive outlooks we need for just living our day-to-day lives beyond being parents. We need more than that. And I think this has been a bit of a meandering segment that's really inconclusive. So you're welcome, everybody. But I think the long and short of it is,
where we all are. I feel this is where we all are.
That's what I was about to say. That this is truthful. This is we we have a feeling like we need to do something, but that thing shouldn't necessarily be just like shouting into the ether, because a lot of the action that we would take wouldn't necessarily get us a result that we could hang a hat on. I think that having shorter term goals that provide a positive outcome give you energy. They help you keep momentum. And so perhaps the way to do it is to, keep doing stuff like reaching out to a-hole stick in the mud, Congress people at the state level, but also do the small positive actions that help yield that psychological boost that allow us to weather the storm that much better, to know that we're doing a thing that is helping people despite all the swirling like fog of bullshit that hovers around us and threatens to upset all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that it was good that we talked that out. I think that there's like, we have some big conversations to have with the boys. I think it might be good to talk with a certain friend that is coming into town.
Yeah.
This weekend, because she is boots on the ground with a lot of social work for years. Mm-hmm. And she might have some really interesting perspectives about these things.
Yeah. Yep. And if any listeners have advice,
please
about
email
ways
us.
They have made this work.
Please
email us.
Hit us up on Insta.
A voice
Throw
message.
it up on Insta.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be really cool to hear from you guys about what you're doing in your communities and ideas you might have that we might not have thought of. Us having said nothing essentially, but if you have some cool ideas, please float them. We'd love to hear them.
All right. We'll keep you updated. As always, we need to thank Jonathan Zalbin and First Frame Music for the music for this podcast.
And that wraps up this episode of The Family Skeptical, where nothing is sacred except for our kids.
Oh, potato! I don't know how I end up swiping my sweet potato off the desk.